I've been using the Lumix S5 Mark II for about a month now. There's things that I really enjoy about this camera, but there's also things that I've had to find solutions for. I have my notes right here. Let's dive into it. You might be able to already tell, but I am sick, so I'm sorry about my voice. Please bear with me. I apologize. I first want to talk about the physical side of this camera real quick. Right off the bat, just looking at it, I don't know, I'm a big fan of just the red accents on the camera. It matches well with my Freewell ND filter, actually, which is really nice. There are a lot of customizable buttons on here. There's this main one in the front. You can also customize this D-pad, whatever it's called. And each button, I think you can customize, like even this white balance button. It's made for white balance, but you can even go in the menu and change it. Let's say you want it to be a record button instead. Well, you could still make that change if you want. A lot of customizability with this camera. I like the way it rests in my hands. I think it's nice, especially compared to the camera I'm recording on right now, the Canon SL2. This one's a lot bigger. Speaking about the buttons though, they are a tad slow, I feel like. I don't have a memory card right now, but I notice whenever I stop recording, especially when I stop recording and I try to play it back right away, it would take a hot second. Right now, like you can see, pretty fast with the different features. I would just notice most often when I would go from recording straight to playback, it would take about a beat. And the last thing we really have for the physical camera that I have to talk about is that this kit, the 20 to 60 kit lens, does not come with a charging dock. And so you have to charge it through here, which is kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Only one battery right here. It lasts a great amount of time, I'll say that, but it's just kind of annoying to have to plug this into the wall. Now let's talk about the image quality and the features of this camera as well. I'm not going to be diving deep into detail about all the features of this camera. I'm going to be speaking from my experience transitioning from my Canon camera. That thing is old. I think that the image out of this camera looks great. The 10-bit 422 color is really nice, having that color data to really push and pull to your color palette of your liking. I do think that the skin tones are a bit oversaturated for my liking. This can just be the conversion LUT provided by Panasonic, but yeah, I find myself just like turning down the saturation of the reds and oranges in post-production. The picture profiles are really nice on this camera. I like working with log. It gives you, like 14 stops of dynamic range, and it's nice having to be able to reduce the noise in post-production if you just know how to shoot it correctly. You can also work with the Cine V2 picture profile, which is also a flatter picture profile, but it has more contrast, and I like using that one when I want a quick turnaround or I just want a faster workflow. The things that affect the image quality though are the big things like autofocus and moire. I don't want to scare you, yeah, let's just talk more about it real quick. I think that the autofocus honestly does pretty well. Just a little test for you guys right now to see how well it's tracking. 9.9 times out of 10, it stays in focus. And it's just very briefly, like very fast, like a blink of an eye, that it does this weird thing where it shimmers in and out of focus. I don't know why it does this, and I've only ran into this problem maybe twice throughout the month I've been using this camera. And the same goes for moire. I did make a video about that alone, and you guys filled the comment section with a lot of solutions. And ever since, I actually haven't ran into that problem. So my takeaway from that is that 9.9 times out of 10, the image out of this camera is amazing. And so considering when it's autofocus, considering when the moire shows up, it doesn't happen often, like not at all. I've only ran into it once or twice, but when it does distract the viewer's eye a lot. So that is just something to keep note of. Moving along, this camera makes it really easy to set your exposure right. I like using the luminance spot meter. I can just point the spot meter to like my skin tones, make sure those are good. There's zebras, so you don't need to worry about clipping highlights with that function. There's also like the waveform. That's really nice to have, especially being able to display it very large and take it away off the screen right away. And using shutter angle versus shutter speed, I don't need to change my shutter speed constantly every time I change my frame rate. Now let's talk more about the photo side of things. To me, this is a very capable hybrid camera. The frame rate of the pictures is pretty fast, in my opinion. It's faster than any camera that I've had before. And again, we're talking about my old Canon camera. This camera has a 24 megapixel sensor, and that allows myself to be able to crop my pictures when I want, and I don't need to worry about losing image quality, especially for social media purposes and for even printing down the line. I probably should have mentioned this before, but let's talk about stabilization. It's known for how good its stabilization is, and it is really nice. I do think I find a little bit of warping around the edges, but I think that's more user error than the camera itself, because I forget when I have the stabilization on, and when I'm just being more carefree with the camera instead of being more intentional, then you begin to notice the warping. But just be more intentional with your camera, and it looks like maybe even a gimbal. Now for the post-production, editing the footage that comes out of this camera, what I find annoying is that I'm not able to preview any of my 1080p clips in like my Finder app on my MacBook. Like, it doesn't even give me a preview image when I put in my SD card and like try to play it back from there. I have to import it into Premiere in order to see it. It's a little annoying because, you know, the SD card can get filled up, and if you're just trying to find one single clip and don't want to have to import every single clip into the Premiere, then. But for some reason in 4K and in 6K, I can play it back. But yeah, my computer is really slow, so that doesn't really help me. Again, with the 10-bit 422 color, the file sizes are a lot bigger, so I've noticed a longer export times with this camera. Something really nice in this camera is that whenever I record vertical footage for, let's say, TikTok or Instagram Reels, when I shoot a vertical video, it's already vertical. That's probably a standard in any other camera, but that's something new to me. So it's really nice. I've yet to really test the low light capabilities of this camera and the time lapse. I have heard good things about it, but yeah, if you're looking to know more about that, please consider checking out the channel, subscribing. If you also like this video and want to support it and spread it out to others, please leave a like. My name is Aaron. I hope you see you in the next one. Deuces.